Jai, Jai, Jai. What a nice surprise to come home to a beautiful kirtan. I was thinking, Nirhari Prabhu, I was thinking, Nirhari Prabhu, you picked the right girl for a Sankirtan partner, and Bhavatrini picked the right guy for a Sankirtan partner. You make a fabulous. Jai, Jai, Jai. What a nice surprise to come home. Whoops, I'm sorry, I gotta shut off the YouTube. I was thinking, Nirhari Prabhu. I was thinking, Nirhari Prabhu. Okay, that's enough from Goradas.
Yeah, don't praise me that much. I think it's all Prabhupada's mercy on both of us that he put us together. And
don't praise you so much. I'm just giving you credit for picking the right girl. That's all.
That's right. So the praise goes to her, but mainly to Prabhupada.
Haribol. Yeah, no, I was in a lot of anxiety because I was sitting by a lake. I met some nice people. I was having Hari Katha with them, just some strangers. And then I said, what time is it? And they said 5 after 7. And I said, 5 after 7, I'm at least a half an hour away from home. So I jumped in my van doing 120 kilometers an hour down the road, hoping I wouldn't get a ticket. And not bad. I only made it 10 minutes late. So, all right.
Yeah, great timing. I got a chance to talk to Siddhanta, but he was traveling north to Oregon.
Yeah,
and I believe he was. Yeah, and he was moving some things in his car or whatever.
Right.
And so I will let you know later. I don't know what we got cut off in the middle because reception problem. So I begged them to please reconsider and anyhow
Hare Krishna, Nandapatni, welcome, dear God sister.
Nandapatni ki jai.
Nandapatni ki jai.
Are you in SoCal, Nandapatni?
I'm about 5 miles from SoCal. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you stay on the old grounds, Santa Cruz.
Yeah,
I've been here 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you remember when we used to come to the temple there all the time?
Funnily enough, I don't. I mean, I lived on Gopura Muller's land from starting in 1985. And then I'm after a while, around about 88, 89, I moved up into the mountains.
Okay. Well, it's good to see you again.
Yeah.
We were there in 86.
I recognized you.
Yeah.
Really? When were you here? What years were you here?
86.
86. I established a candle factory in Santa Cruz. We lived in Capitola,
87.
which is pretty close to SoCal.
I'm amazed I didn't run into you. I'm really amazed.
Remember,
we were there
it was
about 7 years ago. We lived near the university.
And Srila Bhakti Sundar Maharaj, we associated with him, and Akoyananda, our Maharaj at that time, he came. We was accompanying him, and we used to go there quite often. But it's funny.
I did see Govinda Maharaj in SoCal, but I can't really remember the year, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's not interrupt. I know this is Zoom for reading Prabhupada's books, right?
Okay. Thank you, Bhavatrini, for keeping us totally focused.
Yes.
And I want to thank Krishna Chandra. Krishna Chandra is like the rock of Gibraltar. No matter what, he's always here. Whether I'm here, not here, he's always like on time. And
He's
like
so punctual.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for his steadiness, because I was just like flooded with anxiety. I got to get back, and everyone's going to wonder where I am. And not that I'm important, but but I mean, you've all got the key.
You're the master of ceremonies.
I'm the servant.
You bring us all together.
Servant of ceremonies.
You brought us all together.
Yes, you brought us all together.
I'm the servant of ceremonies. And it was kind of a revelation last time. I started this on my own, and then of course Achyutananda's presence made everything like larger than life. And then, you know, because he was sharing some, it seems because he was sharing some intimate things last time, then he realized, oh no, this is being recorded and like we haven't heard from him. I said, you know, I said these don't have to be recorded, even though we are recording right now at this moment. And I wanted to check with you all. Are you all comfortable that we're being recorded? I don't think anyone's going to say anything that they're going to be regretful of saying later, are you?
No, no, we're
How about
fine.
you, Christian? Are you okay?
I'm comfortable and I'm flexible. I mean, if there are people here that don't want to be recorded,
Right.
then I'm fine with not recording it.
And the Padney, are you okay?
I mean, do you have a viewership from the recordings?
Well, we just started. I mean, you see 4 or 5 people are listening, but if people do want to come, but they say they, you know, they're not able to because they're cooking or kids or family or whatever. They kind of look it up later.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah,
anyway, I should have been maybe more sensitive to Achyutananda Prabhu because you know, he doesn't want the ISKCON police or who, you know, whoever the power is that may be, that, you know, if you say something that the Gaudiya Math or Bhaktisiddhanta says, but if it's not accepted by the GBC, then, you know, you might be considered a persona non grata or whatever. Like,
yeah, maybe in his community that might be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I heard recently there's a GBC law that if you in any way perpetuate that we didn't fall from Goloka, then you can't be an ISKCON. I'm like, what?
Great, good riddance.
Huh?
Good riddance. Great. I mean, we should stand for the truth, not for a society.
Right.
If we're afraid of society, then we bend to that. In your articles, I mean, that I read all over the place, you know, you're very outspoken about, you know, their policies.
Yeah, and I'm a little nervous about. Someone said to me, Gora, you know, be a little careful because you know what happened to Sulochan, Prabhu. So,
oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. That's a threat. And so
well,
then
they were actually looking out for me. They were saying,
Hare
Krishna Dvija Garanga Prabhu. Thank you for coming back. You're looking very transcendental as usual. You got your big drop of mantra there.
It's hot over as usual. It's very hot today.
So tonight is a very special occasion because we're beginning the chapter on Rāmānanda Samvad in the teachings of Lord Caitanya. And many years ago, this wonderful little book came out that Jagat Guru Swami, Narasingha Swami published, which is a book that Prabhupada compiled many years ago, or in essays that Prabhupada, In Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life, Rāmānanda Samvad by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Wow.
Was published by Nrsimha.
Prabhupada wrote this, but Nrsimha Maharaj made a book out of it.
Oh,
wonderful.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's a beautiful book.
Amazing. We've never heard of it.
Yeah, because it's very rare. I think it was published in 1993. Senior editor is JG, I guess that's Jagat Guru, Bhakti Gaurava Narasingha Maharaj, and Swami B.V. Tripurari Maharaj. And
at that time they were together.
Yes, and I visited
the
temple. Yeah, they had a temple in downtown Vrindavan in Loy Bazaar near there. They had a temple, but I don't know what happened to it. But let's see, does it even say?
Well, you know,
he passed away, right?
He passed away.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
the title of the book?
The book is?
In Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life. In Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life.
Search.
So are these writings by Srila Prabhupada previous to his coming west?
Yes, exactly, Prabhu. Yeah, exactly.
Gaura Prabhu?
Yes, sir. It is. He gives that whole explanation. And, you know, after we read this chapter, if you want, we could go back to this chapter if you want to hear Prabhupada's words from this
That
book.
would be nice.
Yeah, but in the meantime, why don't we start this chapter? And if we get finished it tonight, maybe we can start on the little book if everyone agrees. Does that sound okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'd
All
like that.
right. All right, I can see a lot of nectar hounds here this evening, as usual. Okay, now let me try to get to where we are, I looked it up. I've got, okay, Prabhupada's book. There we are. Okay, now can everybody see this? Need to get to sharing the page, share screen. So myself, then Krishna Chandra, then Nrhari, Bhavatarini, then Nandapatni, then Dvija Gauranga. That's how everyone appears on my screen. Okay. Can everyone see that? Chapter 27, Lord Caitanya and Rāmānanda Roy?
Yes.
Yeah.
See that? Okay, I'll start with the first paragraph. Should we each read one paragraph or two paragraphs each? What do you think's the best?
I'm fine with either one.
Any suggestions? From anyone?
I think 2 paragraphs is quite good.
I like to do 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Nir Hari
Paragraphs,
Prabhu
is that all right
is,
with you? Nir Hari?
he's muted.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I muted it.
That's all right with you, Nir Hari?
You want me to
How about
start?
How about 2
Okay.
paragraphs each tonight? Is that okay? If we each read 2 paragraphs?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll start, and then just in order. After me, it's Krishna Chandra. So I'll start.
Very good.
The author of Caitanya Charitamrita has described Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu as the ocean of transcendental knowledge and Sri Rāmānanda Roy as the cloud, which is produced from that ocean. Rāmānanda Roy was a greatly advanced scholar in devotional service, and by the grace of Lord Caitanya, he gathered all transcendental conclusions, just as a cloud gathers water from the ocean. As clouds appear from the ocean, distribute water all over the world, and return to the ocean, so by the grace of Lord Caitanya, Rāmānanda Roy attained his higher knowledge of devotional service, and again, after retiring from service, resolved to see Lord Caitanya in Puri. I just have a question, if anyone knows. I was reading the other day that the peacock takes enlivenment from the clouds. And I was wondering, what is it that enlivens a peacock of the clouds? Is it because the peacocks like rain, or does anyone know?
Not precisely, but it's used as an example of the relationship between guru and disciple.
Right.
Apparently there is no physical connection, but there is. It's like the lotus opening with the sun and the peacock dancing when the clouds appear.
Like the
Right.
example is someone is taking care of the peacocks and they're with them every day, but they don't respond and show so much affection and excitement to the caretaker as they do to the clouds when the clouds begin to rumble. Or someone's tending the lotus flower, but the lotus flower's response to the sun and opening up and blooming is nothing compared to the relationship with the caretaker. So the guru may be far away, but the relationship from the heart to heart. But
And-
I don't know why the peacocks like the clouds.
But I believe that actually it's like there's a little book, I believe it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where Lord Krishna goes in the forest and he starts playing his flute, and all the peacocks come and dance around him. And after that, and they all saying like, bravo, bravo. And the king of the peacocks come forward and gives Krishna his peacock feather. So from then on, Krishna says, I will wear this in my crown, because their homage they have paid to the Lord Krishna by the peacock. So it feels like when they see a cloud, they're probably remembering Lord Krishna.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah. Yeah, rain clouds are blackish.
I never heard that before. That's really cool. I'll finish the next paragraph and then on to Krishna Chandra Prabhu. Okay, so when Lord Caitanya visited the southern I was just actually also thinking about this paragraph that Rāmānanda Roy met Lord Caitanya earlier on, it seems. And then again, am I correct in understanding that he met him twice? He met him early on, and then again after retiring. It says he resolved to see.
He moved to Puri and stayed with them constantly.
Right, because he met him at the Godavari first, right?
Yes.
Yes. The excuse of Lord in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj mentions that Lord Chaitanya gives the excuse of going to find his brother, although he knew, because he's the Lord, that his brother had passed away. And that's the spot where actually there's a temple there. There's a deity that his brother Vishwarupa entered as his disappearance. So it's the same spot and on the Godavari that his brother enters Samadhi. He
Oh,
leaves.
really?
I've actually, I'm sorry to interrupt. I've been to that shrine in Godavari with Rāmānanda Roy.
Oh, how lucky.
You got initiated there,
Wow.
didn't you?
Correct. That's exactly right. Yes, right in that area.
Initiated there.
Oh my
Well,
God.
not at the shrine, but in the closest temple that my Guru Maharaj had.
Vicinity.
At the shrine, yes, vicinity.
Nice.
Wow. Very nice. So
Something-
yeah, that's this first meeting.
Who
But
is
that
your
meeting was
guru? Who is your guru?
Srila Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj.
oh yes, we have a relationship with him.
Yes.
Anyhow, I don't want to offend anybody, but he actually came to our store and he never forgot. Every time
In
we saw him,
Eugene, Oregon.
it was
Oh,
Eugene.
nice.
So he said, was he or does it?
No, it's
Oh,
him.
he said,
No, that was Bhakti Bali too.
no, it was him because he had kirtan at the Trade Center in New York just before the famous
Krishna
9/11.
Chandra was there. He went with
I
him.
was. It was Radhastami. I think it was August 25th, 2001 on Radhastami.
Ah,
So he entered our store. I have a past and I don't want to make it
let's
so-called
talk
deviated.
fast.
Anyhow, talk fast. He said New York, Los Angeles, Eugene, but Eugene was it is a university town and Oregon University and State University and so many students. So it's quite an intellectual center, and so we had a store there. Actually, our son motivated us to Vrindavan motivated us to have a store. So we invited Bhakti Puri Maharaj, Kula Shekhar, first disciple of Prabhupada in Europe, actually. Prabhupada used to carry his photograph in his pocket, and it would show, this might decide. So Kula was there. He was the manager at that time. I made him a manager, and he arranged the whole thing. He, did all the formal stuff to invite Maharaj, Bhakti Puri Maharaj, and everything was great, set up. We had a TV screen, Prabhupada giving lecture. Maharaj shows up, and so we turn off the lecture. Maharaj comes up before the car has been parked, and so he comes in the store, and everything was running fine. And we turn on the mic, and it wouldn't work. And we tried everything possible. The mic didn't work. So Maharaj came, sat down, and he was 90 years old by then, wasn't he, Prabhu Krishna Chandra?
Technically he was 88, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So other things, you can see that on film too. And there's a letter where Prabhupada said, "You're my favorite God brother."
He said, "Perhaps you are my only God brother who has truly appreciated my service to Sri Guru and Gauranga."
Yes. And he cries. I don't know if you've seen, you probably seen this video.
Of course he's seen it.
About Prabhupada's
yes.
books. And
I've watched it multiple times.
Yes. And so he sat down and wow, he's booming. His voice just covered the entire room.
It's the first time we'd ever met him.
Our first meeting.
Yeah.
And so no problem with the mic. And he began the lecture from the point where we turn off the Prabhupada's lecture. And
he was still in the car when we turned the lecture off.
He continued it.
He continued exactly where Prabhupada left off.
Anyhow, Prabhupada said that Sri Guru, that's Lord Nityananda, because Ekanda Guru Tattva, there's only one Guru, and that's Lord Krishna, and he's Balaram, because he's Godhead servitor. So from that line, Sri Guru descends, and Prabhupada used to say, it's like you have TV screens. Some are flat, some are curved nowadays. And then before they were real small, and then they got bigger. But the message is the same. What is televised is the same. So that's Sri Guru. Anyhow, we had a wonderful relation, and I think you're blessed, and it's wonderful. And Godavari, that place is a great spot. So Lord Chaitanya arrived there because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya mentioned Rāmānanda Roy. He said, you must go see this devotee. And he's full of prem, he's like very, very special. So, and their excuse that he was going south to see his brother, or
find his
brother. Lord Chaitanya went to actually meet Rāmānanda Roy.
So now,
what was it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
I
was just giving a little background thing, but
okay.
I'm just.
No, I appreciate that. So now that he's seen him, now that Rāmānanda Roy has retired from his government service, he's seeing him again, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but this Sambandha, this Roy Rāmānanda Sambad
is the first meeting.
Is the first meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to get that.
That's a long way to tell you that, huh?
But let me just go back to what we just finished reading here. It was saying that as clouds appear from the ocean, distribute water all over the world, and return to the ocean. So by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, Rāmānanda Roy attained his higher knowledge of devotional service, and again, after retiring from service, resolved to see Lord Chaitanya in Puri. So it sounds like that's what this is, that he's coming to see him again, but you're saying no.
No, and if you hear or read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, their meaning is oh my God, it's like really.
This is just
emotional.
giving you the outline, that
the overall, okay, the overview.
Yeah, that's Prabhupada does that a lot. He summarizes things and then he goes into
because he then he says Rāmānanda Rāya attained, you going up again, attain his higher knowledge of devotional service, and again after retiring from service resolved to see Lord Chaitanya in Puri. But what happens is at that meeting they both embrace and they faint, and they start talking about Lord Krishna.
Let's see if it tells us.
So let's see if he tells his story. Hear us.
Thank you. Okay, I'll read my second paragraph, and then I'll go read my second paragraph, and then on to Krishna Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya visited the southern part of India, he first went to the great temple known as Jiyara Narsingha Kshetra. This temple is situated in a place known as Singhachalam, 5 miles from the Vishakhapatnam railway station. The temple is situated on the top of a hill. There are many temples in that area, but Jiyara Narsingha Kshetra temple is the largest of all. This temple is filled with beautiful sculpture of interest to many students, and due to its popularity, it is a very rich temple. An inscription in the temple states that the king of Vijayanagara formerly decorated this temple with gold and even smeared the body of the deity with gold. To facilitate attendance, there are 3 free apartments for visitors at the temple. Wow. The temple is managed by priests of the Rāmanujacharya sect. Did anybody here go to this Jiyara Narsingha temple in Singhachalam? Anyone go? No?
No. But one thing, look how Prabhupada describes it. He gives you the Vishakhapatnam or Patna railway station, and he kind of giving us directions of how to get there. So obviously he wanted us to go to these places.
Can I say something that's a little off? I forgot, but today is my grandson Nandi's birthday. And he was 1.5, and we took him to Eugene, and he saw Bhaktivaibhav Puri Maharaj speak. And when he finished speaking, Bhaktivaibhav Puri Maharaj went to his car and got in after the feast. And my 1.5-year-old grandson got in the car and sat at his feet and wanted to go with him. And he's turning 21 years old today.
Oh, Chai.
So
Hmm.
20 years ago?
Yeah, about 20 years
About
ago.
20 years ago. He
Right.
was about a
Very
year old.
cute.
His name is Nandulala.
Very nice.
Govinda Maharaj kind of.
Yeah, I was really impressed by reading how they have free quarters for pilgrims. And I'm thinking, wow, that's so
Free,
nice.
yeah.
Like, it's not like,
And
okay, if you
it
want to
was-
stay here, it's 500 rupees a night. And if you want the bath, then it's 700 rupees. And
Well, that's,
But
yeah,
you know,
that's amazing.
have you ever been at Tirupati?
no, I've not.
Okay, Prabhupada went there with all his disciples, and they were so impressed. I mean, they love Prabhupada, and so, but they asked him, and this is a really,
It's
really
set up like
opulent,
you just described. Yeah.
very together place. There is a hotel for middle class devotees. There's bungalows on the lake where you're supposed to, you know, take bath and then go see the deity. There's Dharamshala, which is like free for sadhus to stay. It's very well organized.
No begging allowed.
No,
No.
because everybody gets prasadam. It's like so opulent, very opulent. It's a city, but Lord
No
Chaitanya has
begging
left.
needed.
There are places where he left his footprints, and then when you enter the temple proper, that's run by these devotees, there is a column where his hand melted the stone. He fainted in ecstasy by seeing Lord Venkateshwar.
Wow.
Anyhow, they asked Prabhupada, these Brahmins asked Prabhupada to run their temple. They said, okay, I'll do that, but yeah, and, you know, maybe for a year, but you run ISKCON for me. And then they went, no, thank you. That's okay.
Also, just
So-
in response to your point about directions, I remember as a young brahmachari, 77 or whatever it was, 76, 77, when I was doing my first reading of Caitanya Charitamrita, and I'd be reading like all these specific directions. You get off here and you take this railroad stay, and then you go down this road. And I was like, wow, this is like, it intrigued me to want to visit all these places. And
We have a plan with Bhakti Sridhar Maharaj, a disciple of Bhakti Vaibhav Puri's, to take a tour of devotees following Srila Prabhupada's instructions of all the places in the
Where Lord
Caitanya
Chaitanya
Charitamrita.
went.
I want to go. I want to go for at least 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's gonna take some organizing, and then COVID hit, unfortunately.
Okay. Well,
And
keep
then
me in mind. Okay. Keep me on the list.
Okay.
Of
Yeah.
course, of
I wanna
course.
see
I'll be happy to do
Everybody's
that.
Did I finish my second paragraph here? I'm trying to see. Yeah, I did. So
Please,
now it's
yeah.
Krishna Chandra Prabhu when Lord Chaitanya.
Thank you, Prabhu. Let me see. When Lord Chaitanya visited this temple, he praised the deity and quoted a verse from Sridhar Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Ugropi anugra evayam svabhaktanam nirkeshari keshariva svapotanam anyesham ugra vikramaha. Although Lord Nrsimha is very severe to demons and non-devotees, he is very kind to his submissive devotees like Prahlad. Lord Nrsimha appeared as a half-man, half-lion incarnation of Krishna when Prahlad, a boy devotee of the Lord, was harassed by his demonic father Hiranyakashipu. Just as a lion is very ferocious to other animals, but very kind and submissive to his cubs, so Lord Nrsimha appeared ferocious to Hiranyakashipu and very kind to his devotee Prahlad. After visiting the temple of Jyara Nrsimha, the Lord proceeded further south into India and ultimately reached the bank of the Godavari. While on the bank of this river, the Lord remembered the Yamuna River in Vrindavan, and he considered the trees on the bank to be the forest of Vrindavan. Thus, he was in ecstasy there. After taking a bath on the banks of the Godavari, the Lord sat near the bank and began chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. While sitting and chanting, the Lord saw that the governor of the province, Sri Rāmānanda Roy had reached the banks of the river accompanied by his associates, which included many brahmanas. Previously, the Lord had been asked by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to visit the great devotee Rāmānanda Roy at Kabur. The Lord could understand that the man approaching the riverbank was Rāmānanda Roy, and he desired to see him immediately. However, because he was in the renounced order of life, he restrained himself from going to see a political personage. Being a great devotee, Rāmānanda Roy was attracted by the features of Lord Caitanya, who appeared as a, I'm sorry, can you please scroll down a little bit?
Sorry.
That's okay. Who appeared as a sannyasi, and he himself came to see the Lord. Upon reaching Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Rāmānanda Roy prostrated himself and offered his obeisances and respects. Lord Caitanya received him by vibrating Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Sorry.
Next.
Today I was reading. Is my turn?
No, it's his.
Oh, I'm
Read
sorry.
another paragraph.
Oh, you read?
No, he's
Oh,
read one
is
paragraph.
it one more for you?
I believe I read 2
Yeah,
paragraphs
you
already.
did read 2. Yeah, you're
Oh, he
confusing
did.
us,
Okay.
Pavatrini.
Oh, okay.
Nirhari, go
I
ahead.
was just so fast. It was only one for me.
Nirhari, did you have something
So
you wanted to say before you read?
Yeah, on this meeting, Rāmānanda Roy showed up with 1,000 men. He was king. He had a big procession. He had musicians. He was fan. I said, great. He was like the viceroy, being working for the king. Actually, Putraparudra. He was his king, so he was on behalf of his king. But he was received as being a viceroy, and so but he belonged to the Kayasta group, which is actually Sudra. And the Brahmins knew that they could realize that Lord Chaitanya was a Brahmin and sannyas. But when they see them embracing, they all get like, wow. And then on top of that, they both fell in ecstasy, so they fainted. Then they collected themselves, and realizing where they were, they decided to meet later on in the evening. And then all this issue, their conversation is actually in a more private setting.
Okay, thank you. Please continue.
Okay. Well, and the other thing I was reading today, Prabhupada lecture on Mayapur 77, speaking about the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Prabhupada said there is no difference between Krishna and the pure devotee, in the sense that they manifest and unmanifest in very similar ways. And so they play Leela. It's like Krishna leaves the body and he's killed. Hello. It's supposed to be killed by a hunter. How can you kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Is that Prabhupada told the Christians, he said, you believe that Christ was killed. That's not our philosophy. The pure devotee of the Lord cannot be killed. That's his choice. Appears like dead, like, Haridas Thakur. And then he talks about Nrsingadev being as hard as a lion, as strong as a lion, and thunderbolt, but then as soft as a petal. So there is a Bengali saying, there's a phrase that said, as hard as a thunderbolt, softer than the petal of a flower. And so that's the pure devotee is like that. So the qualities that we see in God, they are there. Of course, there are few more that, that the pure devotee doesn't play the flute, but, there's other qualities that are there, but pretty much is like that. So anyhow, I was remembering a few things. Rāmānanda Roy presented his credentials. Lord Chaitanya embraced him, and both of them were overwhelmed with ecstasy. The Brahmanas who accompanied Rāmānanda Roy were surprised to see them embracing in transcendental ecstasy. The Brahmanas were all stalwart followers of the rituals, and they could not understand the meaning of such devotional symptoms. Indeed, they were rather surprised to see such great sannyasi touch a Sudra, and they were also surprised to see Rāmānanda Roy, who was a great governor and practically king of that province, crying simply by touching a sannyas. Lord Caitanya understood the Brahman's thoughts, and considering the unfavorable situation, he pacified himself. After this, Lord Caitanya and Rāmānanda Roy sat down together. Quote, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has spoken very highly of you, Lord Caitanya informed him. So I have come to see you.
Oh, I have to take this. It's the lawyer.
Baba Trini,
So
are
it's
you
Bob-
reading or do you have to answer the phone?
I have to.
Yeah, it's lawyer call, so if
Dvija Garanga, please continue.
sorry.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya considers me to be one of his devotees, Rāmānanda Roy replied. Therefore, he has kindly recommended that you see me. Rāmānanda Roy very much appreciated the Lord's touching a man of wealth. A king, governor, or any politician is always absorbed in thoughts of political affairs and pounds, shilling, pence. Therefore, such persons are avoided by sannyasis. Lord Caitanya, however, knew Rāmānanda Roy to be a great devotee, and therefore he did not hesitate to touch and embrace him. Rāmānanda Roy was surprised by Lord Caitanya's behavior, and he cited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.4. The great personalities and sages appear in the homes of worldly men just to show them mercy. Continue.
Yeah, that was a really short other paragraph.
Okay. Lord Caitanya's special treatment of Rāmānanda Roy indicated that although Rāmānanda Roy was born in a non-Brahminical family, he was far, far advanced in spiritual knowledge and activity. Therefore, he was more respectable than one who simply happens to be born in a Brahminical family. Although Rāmānanda, out of his meek and gentle behavior, considered himself to be born in a lower Shudra family, Lord Caitanya nonetheless considered him to be situated in the highest transcendental stage of devotion. Devotees never advertise themselves as great, but the Lord is very anxious to advertise the glory of its devotees. After meeting for the first time that morning on the banks of the Godavari, Rāmānanda Roy and Lord Caitanya separated with the understanding that Rāmānanda Roy would come in the evening to see the Lord.
I just wanted to make a comment, if I may, that it says that a king or a governor, politicians always absorbed in thoughts of political affairs and pounds, shilling, pence. Therefore, such persons are avoided by sannyasis. Lord Caitanya, however, knew Rāmānanda Roy to be a great devotee and therefore did not hesitate to touch and embrace him. So I was just thinking, I think biblically, there's a statement something like, it's more difficult. How does the phrase go? It's more difficult for is it a proud man or a rich man to enter into heaven?
Rich.
Than it is to thread
Pass through the eye of a needle.
The eye of a needle.
An elephant?
For a camel to go through the
Camel.
eye of a needle.
A camel through the eye of a needle. Right. So that reminds me of that verse from Bhagavad Gita, Bhogaishvarya Prasaktanam Taya Paritasam, that for those whose minds are too much absorbed in material opulence, the determination for devotional service does not take place. And so I was thinking, this is interesting because it's showing maybe the opposite point that the Bible's saying, and even the opposite point of the Bhagavad Gita, that being rich and opulent is not necessarily a disqualification for devotional service. However, I was thinking one may be very rich and very opulent, but depending upon the nature of their work, it's debatable whether or not the kind of work that they do, whether or not it can be dovetailed in the service of the Lord, especially if they become a millionaire by engaging in activities that are harmful to other living entities. Like for example, there was a group, I mean, it's a little infamous, but I heard that there was a group out of Laguna Beach many years ago, Prasadam Distribution International, and they were involved in some activities that had to do with intoxication. And when Prabhupada found out that money was being raised through that activity, even though they were very wealthy, he forbade it. So I'm just saying there's different ways of looking at that. One may be very rich, and one would maybe think, oh, if you're very rich, well, then you can't be much of a devotee. No, that's not true, because I guess Rāmānanda Roy must have been doing pretty good for himself if he had a whole, platoon there and musicians, et cetera, et cetera.
Sorry, I have my mic off, and I had to clarify that. I'm sorry, because I was working at the restaurant made by these devotees at that time. So Bhaktinandan Swami was at that time came to Laguna Beach, and Rishabh Dev actually put the letter up of response. Rameshwar said, "Oh, we should probably call the police on these people and get them in trouble. I mean, how dare them and all that." And Prabhupada said, "What? I mean, these are our friends. Why do you want to do that? And please, maybe you should stop recording for a second, because these are like delicate matters that people might misinterpret."
I'm not sure how to do. Okay, stop video. Okay, I've stopped the video. Yes, go on.
Okay, so in that letter, Prabhupada said, "Please, this money is fine. Direct it to our projects in India." And so some people will hear this, and then they will be offensive to Srila Prabhupada. And that particular intoxication, it was oil from marijuana. It was hash oil, actually, and they were importing. And some of our famous at that time sannyasis who were directors of the society sent their men to be employed by Dhritarashtra, who was the head of that group. So no, in that letter, Prabhupada didn't say, "No, I don't want that money." But I know another devotee who was doing some other type of drug, and he brought money to Prabhupada. He said, "I don't want your blood money."
So that seems to be a contradiction there. On the one hand, Prabhupada is willing to accept money from hash sales, but he's not willing to accept money from another kind of drug sale. I don't follow.
Yeah, well, there's a difference in intoxicants. I mean, alcohol. You can't compare alcohol with marijuana or heroin with marijuana.
Right.
There's a big difference there. And in the Vrindavan did research for this group about in the churning of the ocean, what substances there appear. First, the poisonous substance that they're taking by Shiva, Lord Shiva, are absorbed, and his name is Nilakanta, or bluish neck, because he kept all the poison in his neck. Then other plants came out, other medicines were produced.
Right.
And marijuana was one of them. So it's not a evil weed, but it cannot be abused. It's like in homeopathy.
Right.
But Thakur opened a store of homeopathic remedies for his son.
Who did? What Thakur? Which Thakur?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Okay, he opened a pharmacy.
He opened a pharmacy, an homeopathic pharmacy, for his son to be employed at, to work from. And if you study homeopathy, there'll be poisonous, toxic substances that they're diluted 10,000 times.
Arsenicum, and yes. Mm-hmm.
To produce a certain effect. So in pharmacopoeia, you had to belladonna, one of them. But when people start using belladonna as the one, I know somebody here that he thought he could fly and had an accident. Very wealthy man. He broke his back and whatever. So people say, "Oh, that's bad. We should take it out of the market." But but what it is that we should have the appropriate doctors, to understand. It's like spiritual life. You cannot grab the book and say, "Oh, now I'm a doctor." Or if Prabhupada mentions that, if you had to go to university to associate with doctors. So, and when you were talking about before, how do I reconcile this term, this thing about wealthy men or wealthy people are not, they're the last ones you can think that they could understand the message of Lord Krishna. But if you see who who is qualified instead of saying who is disqualified. Then you see Arjuna, he's a Kshatriya, he's not a yogi. I mean, at that time you had Gargamuni, you had so many great sages that were present at the time of Lord Krishna, but did he pick any of them? No, he picked Arjuna, a prince, an opulent prince who had several wives, who, you know, for all terms, materially speaking, is it would be, oh, wow, there is no qualification. But you remember the verse? Is it why I'm giving you this Gita? Because you are my friend and my devotee. So that would be the measuring stick, I think, by which.
Okay, so where I was really going with this, and I'm glad you got me to stop the video because I felt frustrated to not be able to say what I wanted to say to all of you, because I spent a few hours this morning gathering a whole bunch of information. And I'm glad this is not being recorded, because I have a question. After doing a lot of research, I found out, because Prahladananda Maharaj had mentioned a few months ago in a Zoom conference that he asked not to be recorded, that one congregational devotee had received a $1 billion contract to make the jab. And any of us who are a little familiar know about all the fallout and all the harmful effects of the jab. And so this is why he was saying, why he was insinuating, he was inferring that ISKCON gurus are saying in Dandavats.com, at least a half a dozen of them, that the best decision for me is to take the vaccination. And any of us who have done research know this is an injection. It's not a vaccination. It doesn't follow the criteria of a vaccination. Aside from that, we know that there's been the tens of thousands of deaths and adverse reactions. Now, this one gentleman, Ajay Palimar, he's worth $4.8 billion, aside from the $1 billion contract that he just received to make the jab. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, he's a major contributor to Radhanath Swami's prasadam distribution program called Anamrita or Amrita Anna, I can't remember the exact name. And he's allegedly donating very generously to ISKCON projects, to ISKCON gurus. But I'm thinking, but if that money is coming as a result of inflicting death and adverse reactions on people, would Prabhupada condone that? That's my question.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I mean, that's what I mentioned. I mean, when Prabhupada said to my godbrother, I don't want your blood money. It was coming from sale of heroin.
Wow.
And that kills people.
Yeah.
That kills people.
Yeah.
I have another godbrother that was a grihasta, and it was outside the temple as a grihasta and supporting the temple with the sales of, at that time they called liquid silver. There was some jewelry that was, very popular, and they were making money, and he started to smoke marijuana again or whatever. And so the authorities kicked him out. And Prabhupada, when he found out, said, why are you doing that? That's a minor offense. Is that actually yogis in India use it to keep celibacy?
Huh.
So I think that it all boils down that we need to ask our spiritual master, when we come to crossroads like this, junctions like this, that we have to have faith that he's not dead. And that's what I was reading this morning. Prabhupada said it's like Krishna, he's compared to Krishna. The sun, when it sets, it doesn't mean that the sun is gone. The 11 o'clock hour is gone, maybe in India at the time he was speaking at noon. Prabhupada was so great at giving examples, right? What things were happening. He said, maybe now the 11th hour is past, but somewhere else is the 11th hour. So the sun doesn't, it sets, but it doesn't really set. It never disappears. So I think we should, many of these questions, and I asked Bodhaya Maharaj one time, there was something about, and I will remember in the future, but it's something to do with Ras and a song by Srila Prabhupada. Very, the mellow was very high. So I had a question, and Bodhaya Maharaj says, ask him. And it really, he looked at me and he asked, ask your Guru Maharaj. I said, wow, yeah. I mean, it's not a linear thing. Prabhupada didn't appear in 65 in New York, and whoever met him is the first one to see Prabhupada, and then the last one to see Prabhupada, you know, the number 16 disciple or number 2 disciple is better than. So Bhakti Yoga is no measure like that. And so the appearance, disappearance of Guru are, you know, the outer